Make sure that CC and clip ready. We need it for the second.
4.
Facts from the Clarendon correspondent coming through now.
3.
All the international stories in the folder. Good to
2.
Newsreaders all set.
Yeah, man, everything set, everything ready.
1. From the Grill to Morant Point, News Talk 93 FM has got it covered. Across the 7 seas to the 4 corners of the world, it's all captured on the 93 radar. 93.1, 93.3, 93.5, 93.7 and 93.9 on your FM dial. Real News at 5 starts now.
Afternoon, time for the 5 o'clock news roundup here on News Talk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Coming up in this newscast, pollster says PNP and JLP in statistical dead heat as election approaches.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller boasts of administration's achievements on island-wide tour.
JLP caretaker Delano Seawright calls on Contractor General to monitor contracts issued by the Ministry of Health.
And Westmoreland police arrest 3 men suspected of being involved in the murder of 2 men in Little London.
And now the details. Noted pollster Don Anderson today declared that the 2 main political parties are locked in a statistical dead heat as they gear up for the anticipated general elections.
We went back into the field in September. When we went back into the field in September, both parties gained 4 percentage points. So, as I have heard, both of them have bragging rights.
Anderson told a luncheon meeting of the Lions Club of Kingston today that polls done over the course of the past 12 months showed the PNP trailing the JLP by 8 points in November 2014, by 1 point in July 2015, and with the same amount of support in September 2015. The latest figures show each party with 30 basis points each. He said the trend shows the PNP gaining traction, while the JLP has not shown any increase in support over the period. The pollster, who heads up Market Research Services, said it is likely that the trend of low voter turnout will continue and that the party that wins will be the one which is best able to mobilize its core support. Anderson referred to the September polls, which showed that 50% of those eligible to vote said they had no interest, and the majority of persons aged 18 to 40 were disenchanted with party politics. Anderson noted that consumer and investor confidence is being negatively affected by the pending general election, the date for which is yet to be announced by the Prime Minister.
Consumers who have bought into the notion that things are changing, things are going to change for the better, are now losing patience. But like the business sector, which is now beginning to show little signs of losing patience as well, it's a challenging time. Senior business people have said one of the challenges and one of the reasons for this is that the election seems to be about to happen. And we can.
Noted pollster Don Anderson.
Meanwhile, as Jamaica's 2 major political parties ramp up their political machinery in preparation for a general election, People's National Party PNP President and Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller went on an island-wide campaign and boasted of the achievements of her administration.
There are many achievements for the people that we can be proud of. The people in St. Mary, we can be proud of the North Coast Highway. That is improving business in the parish. The people of Portland say we can be proud of the Port Antonio Marina. That is improving tourism in that parish. The Tourism Enhancement Fund is investing in upgrading the park in Port Antonio. Several of the new bridges that we have built are in St. Mary, Portland, and St. Thomas. We have increased the security of residents and motorists with the Rio Grande Bridge in Portland, the Westmoreland Bridge in St. Mary, 11 Miles Bridge in St. Thomas, the Port Maria Bridge, the bridge at Eden River, and Fontabelle in St. Mary.
At the same time, Simpson Miller notes that despite the challenges that people face, they still place their trust in the People's National Party.
I wanted, comrades, to hear from you live and direct, as Comrade P.J. Pattison would say. As I travel the length and breadth of Jamaica, people tell me that they are keeping faith with the People's National Party. They tell me that there are many challenges, but they trust the People's National Party.
Prime Minister of Jamaica, Portia Simpson Miller. She was speaking in Portland on one leg of her island-wide campaign tour on Sunday.
Meanwhile, former East Rural St. Andrew Member of Parliament Damien Crawford has sought to dispel rumors that he has switched from being a member of the People's National Party. Even though he did not say where the rumors originated or where he would switch to, Crawford reaffirmed his loyalty to the PNP.
Here some people on all Facebook and Twitter spread a rumor say Crawford switch. To what? Switch to where? How we liar go? How we bad mind go? Hold on, man. We not make the time done, man. Let me tell you something now. Remember say me say if you support PNP for plyboard, you're a plyboard PNP. And if you support for Sink, you're a Sink PNP. That means say me support PNP for seat, me a seat PNP, me a no seat PNP. Me a born PNP.
He says he was not upset by his defeat for the constituency by businessman Peter Blake, and no matter what, the PNP is still a better party than the JLP.
If you want me to be upset because of what happened, I am sorry, I am not sorry. Because PNP is the most democratic party, and what happened in the PNP is because we are for the people. So I'm going to tell you something now. We can't always quarrel and cuss with one another if the PNP is perfect. I can tell you right now, the PNP is not perfect. And so in the absolute, we can have a conversation, but right now it's time for the relative. The PNP is not perfect, but the PNP is better than the JLP, and that is what is important at election.
And East Rural St. Andrew MP Dr. Peter Phillips, speaking at the same rally, says the PNP administration has restored the economic foundation of Jamaica. He reminded the large gathering that the government has stuck with the economic program.
It has been difficult. It has been difficult, but everywhere in the world they recognize that we have restored the economic foundations of Jamaica. When you say that we pass tests, it's not just exam we attend. What it means is that we have had the discipline to stick with a program. When our debt come down, and our debt has come down, the first time our debt has come down since 2007, because it go up every year under the Jamaica Labour Party, but we have taken 20 percentage points off the debt because we don't intend to burden another generation.
Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips on the campaign trail.
The People's National Party has announced that J.P. White will replace Patrick Atkinson as the party's candidate in North Trelawney for the upcoming general elections. Deputy General Secretaries Julian Robinson and Wentworth Skeffrey made the announcement at a meeting in Martha Bray, Trelawney yesterday. This triggered chaos among some PNP supporters, who said they were not consulted and they rejected White because he is a non-performer. Constituency Secretary Colin Campbell demanded that the people do not want J.P. White because he cannot win and the party needs to send a compromise. Campbell insists that if there is no change, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller should think again if she intends to call general elections this year.
JLP caretaker for St. Thomas Eastern, Delano Seabright, has called on the Contractor General, the Auditor General, foreign missions and international bodies to monitor contracts issued by the Ministry of Health, the National Health Fund and the Southeast Regional Health Authority, SERA. Seabright says that contracts issued by the ministry and its agencies must be actively monitored to ensure they comply with the wishes of Parliament, relevant laws and regulations, and are conducted with due regard to economy, efficiency, effectiveness, the environment, and the avoidance of fraud. Seabright, who will be competing against Minister of Health Dr. Fenton Ferguson in the next general election, says any activity contrary to this must be investigated swiftly. He says that despite billions of dollars in contracts routed through the ministry, the NHF and SERA, many persons still wonder why the public health system remains in shambles.
The hearing into the application brought by the government against the Jamaica Police Federation has been pushed back to next year. The matter was set to be heard over 3 days starting today in the Supreme Court. However, the hearing could not begin because the court was told both parties needed certain documents to be completed before the matter could commence. Both sides agreed that the hearing should be rescheduled. The hearing is now set for February 8 and 9, 2016. In the application, the Attorney General is seeking a declaration that the industrial action taken earlier this year by rank-and-file members of the police force is in breach of their oath and duty under the Constabulary Force Act. The Attorney General is also seeking a declaration that Section 59 of the Act prohibits members of the force from taking industrial action. The Police Federation is opposed to the application. In June, government lawyers obtained an injunction blocking rank-and-file members of the police force from taking industrial action to press for increased wages. More than 3,000 cops had called in sick over 3 days that month in defiance of the court order.
Jamaicans will have to wait until at least Sunday for the release of the audit on local health facilities. Health Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson is due to give a national broadcast on Sunday, and a senior member of the governing party says the release should not be expected until then. Yesterday, Dr. Ferguson bowed to public pressure and announced that the audit, which had been withheld for 2 months, will be released. He also said he would use the national broadcast to respond to questions from the media and the public, as well as to outline his future course of action in light of the dead babies scandal, over which there have been calls for his resignation. Ferguson came under renewed pressure to release the audit after the JLP leaked what it said was information from the report, suggesting the government knew about the current deadly bacterial outbreak at 2 hospitals earlier than it reported.
The Westmoreland police have arrested 3 men suspected of being involved in the murder of 2 men in Little London, Westmoreland yesterday. The deceased men have been identified as 33-year-old Fabian Allen, otherwise called Invader, a musician of Little London, and 70-year-old Leonardo Nanko, a pensioner of Big Bridge. Reports from the Little London police are that about 2:30 yesterday afternoon, the 2 men were inside a shop when a silver Nissan Tida drove up and 2 men alighted and immediately opened gunfire, hitting them. The gunmen then escaped in the waiting motor car. Both men were taken to hospital where they were pronounced dead. Acting on information shortly after the police intercepted the Nissan Tida on the Sandy Bay Main Road, and two of the suspects were nabbed. The operations continued and the 3rd man was subsequently picked up.
Resident Magistrate Judith Pusey has put off until Thursday the hearing of the applications for the immediate release of the 4 persons arrested in relation to the alleged contract killing of Manchester businesswoman Norma Coleman. Attorney at law Oswald Senior Smith says the magistrate indicated she could not hear an application on behalf of his client Vincent Coleman today. Vincent is the husband of the murdered woman. Senior Smith says the magistrate indicated that lawyers for the 3 accused policemen filed applications in court yesterday seeking their release. According to the lawyer, R.M. Pusey indicated she was informed that the Director of Public Prosecutions is looking into the case. He says the magistrate then indicated she would hear the applications for the accused persons tomorrow. The 61-year-old businesswoman was shot dead on Confidence Avenue in Mandeville on Friday, October 23.
And the man who went on a trip overseas earlier this year and left 6 of his licensed firearms at his house in Mandeville, Manchester, has been charged. Police say that the accused, David McMorris, has been slapped with a charge of negligence. Police reports are that McMorris left all 6 of his licensed firearms in his safe at his house in Manchester and left the island. Reports are that days after he left the island, criminals broke into his house and stole the weapons. Police said McMorris was apprehended for breaching Section 4 of the Firearms Act. The police say the law states that persons leaving the island should turn over their licensed firearm to the nearest police station or to the Firearm Licensing Authority.
You're listening to news on News Talk 93 FM. It's 15 minutes after 5. Drug kingpin Christopher Dudus Coke decided to remain silent about his criminal lifestyle during a marathon interview with police investigators a day after he was captured in May 2010. Superintendent Michael Phipps, the veteran investigator who conducted the 3-hour interview at the JDF Up Park Camp headquarters, said Coke only answered 12 of the 182 questions posed to him. Superintendent Phipps said questions Coke answered related to his name, address, and his parents' name. He told the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry this morning that the other questions were met with the same response, that based on the advice of his attorneys, he had nothing to say. Superintendent Phipps said the drug kingpin gave his address as Building 25, Tivoli Gardens, and indicated he was self-employed. However, the veteran investigator said Coke clammed up when asked how he managed to elude the security forces during the May 2010 operation in Tivoli and whether he was wearing army uniform that day.
And Chairman of the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry, Sir David Simmons, this morning indicated that his tribunal has enough evidence to draw the inference that the armed thugs who confronted members of the security forces during the May 2010 operation in Tivoli Gardens were armed. The pronouncement came as attorneys for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, and the Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, asked the 3-member panel to view the 141 firearms that were recovered in the operation. In addition to the firearms, Superintendent Michael Phipps testified this morning that a total of 7,049 assorted rounds of ammunition were seized in the operation. Seeking to have the commissioners view the weapons, Attorney-at-Law Linton Gordon, who is representing the JDF, pointed to suggestions earlier in the inquiry that firearms found during the operation were taken from the JCF armory and planted.
That's your local news. For international news, let's join the BBC.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newscast 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and these are the news in the Jamaican language. The People National Party, PNP, said J.P. White are going to take over for Patrick Atkinson in a Chilani North and running at the next general election. Julian Robinson and Wentworth Skeffrey were the 2 Deputy General Secretary for the party, tell everybody in our meeting we keep in a Martha Bray Chilani Tuesday afternoon. After them said that, some PNP supporters were in a cuss and I said White now go do one good job, and Colin Campbell I said the people them no want White cause him can't go win the seat and the party must pick somebody who can win the seat. Campbell said if them not change White, then Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller can nobody call the general election this year. Campbell said he never see the party in a so much mix up yet. One man was being go foreign this year and left 6-time gun in his house in Mandeville, Manchester, get charged for negligence. Him named David Morris, and police said them charge him cause by law him should have hand over the gun them to the nearest police station or the firearm licensing authority. Them say Matt Morris are go before the Mandeville Registered Magistrate Court today. According to the police report, Matt Morris left 6-time gun them in a one CFI yard in Manchester and left the country. Some days after I'm gone, some criminal broke into the house and thief the gun them. The police said Matt Morris go against Section 4 of the Firearm Licensing Authority. The people them live on Roehampton Estate in St. Andrew are called upon the National Water Commission NWC for coming to them community cause enough water are waste now. According to the people them, the water from the hydrant are run for one long time now and them want the water way waste. This comes some month after the National Water Commission being cut down on the time them where people being get water cause of the drought or being go on. News from the rest of the Caribbean. Gunman rape one 8-month pregnant woman in a Los Eros, Trinidad. According to the report, the couple being in a Princess Town a walk on the beach when 3 men hold them up with gun. Them rob the man with money and some other things. Him being run and 2 of the gunmen them being run after him. The woman said the next man drag her in a one bush and rape her. She walked go the lifeguard booth and them carry her go hospital. The police said them are looking at what go on. News from foreign. Them swearing Justin Trudeau as Canada's new Prime Minister after him win the election and stop the Conservative Party for being around the country for 10 years. Trudeau a following them father footstep for being around the country for almost 20 years. The report said a move there might have made more public spending go on, the country might have worked better with America, and they might have taken in more people who left Syria and want to come into the country. Them swearing the new minister them today. Trudeau, being a one school teacher, was turned politician in 2008. He was the second youngest prime minister in Canada history. He was 43. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newscast 93 FM just gave the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon. This is your 5 o'clock Sports Roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM, and I am Mikhail Drama Johns. We begin with football. Latest scores in today's midweek fixtures for this season's Registrar Premier League RSPL saw Boys Town FC losing their lead to be trailing Humble Lion 2-1 with 8 minutes left in their contest then. Meanwhile, Portmore United were leading Tivoli 1-0 and Cavalier were 0-0 versus FC Reno with 8 minutes remaining in that fixture. And the day's fourth contest, where debutants UAFC travel to Harbourview, will begin at 7 p.m. In today's schoolboy action, Isaflo the Costa Cup quarterfinal action saw Dint Hill and Russies play to an exciting 3-all stalemate, while Manchester got back from Paul Bogle's equaliser to win 3-1. As for the contest between Stets and Veer Technical, Stets were on an onslaught and at last update had netted 6 goals while still having their clean sheet. As for the Port Antonio versus Petersfield fixture, that was postponed due to a waterlogged field. And for the Isaflo Manning Cup, Denham Town clipped Innswood 1-0 while Hydel and Camperdown played to a 2-all stalemate. Further afield, Champions League action saw Bayern Munich earn the day's biggest win, adding 2 second-half goals and letting slip a consolation on their way to a 5-1 win. Thomas Müller earned a brace, scoring in minutes 29 and 89, with the other 3 nettings coming from Robert Lewandowski opening in the 10th, David Alaba with the third 2 minutes from the break, and Ian Robben in the 55th minute. The Gunners' consolation came in the 69th, courtesy of Olivier Giroud. Meanwhile, Zenit St. Petersburg kept their perfect win record to join Real Madrid in the round of 16. They won Game 4 by 2 goals to 0 versus Lyon. Also advancing today were FC Porto, who got by Maccabi Tel Aviv 3-1, while holders Barcelona moved to the brink of qualifying. The Spanish advanced to 10 points after blanking Bet Borisov 3-0. In other games today, Chelsea got by Dynamo Kiev 2-1, Roma beat Bayer Leverkusen 3-2, Dynamo Zagreb fell 2-1 at the feet of Olympiacos, and KA Gent beat Valencia 1-0. Now moving on to cricket, the West Indies have suffered yet another loss on their tour of Sri Lanka, this time falling by 8 wickets in their second one-day international ODI. The hosts were given a Duckworth-Lewis method target of 225 runs in 38 overs, making it with 9 balls to spare. It marks the 4th tour loss for the regional side, having lost the first ODI and the 2 preceding tests. Windies were first to bat today, winning the toss and opting to do so, putting up 214 runs. They lost their final wickets with 2 balls remaining in the 38th over in what was a 38-over game. Sunday's first ODI was also a reduced game, seeing both sides having 26 overs due to rain. As for today's game, Windies opener Johnson Charles fell just 17 runs shy of a century, having made 83, while interim skipper Marlon Samuels followed with 63. He had filled in as captain after Jason Holder was issued a 1-match ban for a slow over rate in Sunday's game. The side was also without Andre Russell today, who picked up an injury in Sunday's game as well. Still on cricket, as for England and Pakistan's third test, the touring Englishman returned to the crease on day 4 after bowling Pakistan for a second innings 355 runs. England now trail by 238 runs with 8 wickets in hand. Spending 22 overs at the crease, they put up 46 runs as they lost 2 late wickets. Those were opener Moeen Ali going for 22 and his replacement Ian Bell, who went for a duck. Pakistan lead the 3-test series 1-0 after having won the second test, with the first test having been a draw. Now to look at tennis. Britain number 1 Andy Murray thrashed Croatian teenager Borna Coric in just 58 minutes to reach the third round at the Paris Masters. Seeded second, Murray won 6-1, 6-2 and will next play Belgian David Goffin, a warm-up for this month's likely meeting in the Davis Cup final. And American tennis star Serena Williams last evening chased a thief. According to the world number 1, she chased the man who snatched her phone while she was at a restaurant having dinner. Williams says she reacted without thinking, having had to leap over a chair or two. And finally, in athletics, Lamine Diack, ex-head of the IAAF, is being investigated over allegations he took payments for deferring sanctions against Russian drug cheats. French prosecutors suspect Senegalese Diack, who is now 82 years of age, of receiving money in the year 2011. The IAAF's new president, Lord Coe, was questioned by French police on Tuesday, having offered to cooperate. Athletics World Governing Body says it is fully cooperating and confirmed police had carried out searches and interviews at its Monaco headquarters. Diack ended his 16-year reign as IAAF president in August when Britton Coe, a double Olympic 1500 meters winner, was elected as his replacement. The IAAF has previously denied claims of widespread doping in the sport, and the French Financial Prosecutor's Office said Diack and his advisor Habib Cissé were arrested on Sunday and released yesterday after being interrogated and put under investigation. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama Johns saying stay tuned as we bring to you the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
At 28 minutes after 5, let's look at the price of petroleum products as Petrojam has announced a 69-cent increase in the price of gasoline effective tomorrow. E1087 will be sold for $99.48 and E1090 for $101.13. Automotive diesel goes up by $2.06 per liter. New price $94.97, while ultra-low sulfur diesel moves to $102.75, up $2.04. Kerosene sees an increase of $1.01. New price $91.47. Propane goes up by 15 cents to $33.32, while butane goes up by $1.39 to $40.38 per liter.
And on the local stock market, the index declined by 559.17 points to close at 132,130.99. The junior market index advanced by 31.56 points to close at 1,427.92. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 41 stocks, of which 19 advanced, 15 declined, and 7 traded firm. Market volume amounted to over 9 million units, valued at over $34 million. Lime was the volume leader. Stocks advancing: Access Financial Services, Berita Investments, Caribbean Cream, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Caribbean Producers Jamaica, Carreras, D&G, General Accident Insurance, Grace Kennedy Producers, Lasco Distributors, Lasco Manufacturing, Mayberry, NCB, Pulse Investments, Radio Jamaica, Scotia Investments, Seprod, and Supreme Ventures. Stocks declining: Berger Paints, Caribbean Cement, Siboney, Derrimon Trading, Dolphin Cove, Jamaica Broilers, Jamaica Stock Exchange, JMMB Group, Kingston Wharves, Lime, Medical Disposables and Supplies, Pan-Jamaican Investment Trust, Proven Investments, Sagicor Real Estate X Fund, and Scotia Group Jamaica. And on the foreign exchange market, the US dollar closed at $119.86, the pound at $185.10, the Canadian at $92, and the euro at $131.30. That's business news.
And now for a look at the weather. There's a tropical wave west of Jamaica. This tropical wave will continue moving farther west. However, a trough is expected to remain across the island and the central Caribbean for the next 3 days. Tonight, there could be lingering isolated showers. Tomorrow, isolated morning showers mainly across sections of northern and southeastern parishes, with widely scattered afternoon showers and isolated thunderstorms. To end the news, the main points. Pollster says PNP and JLP in statistical dead heat as election approaches.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller boasts of her administration's achievements on island-wide tour.
JLP caretaker Delano Sivrite calls on Contractor General to monitor contracts issued by the Ministry of Health.
And police arrest 3 men suspected of being involved in the murder of 2 men in Little London, Westmoreland.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.